I'm so pleased to be here, coming off of a wonderful resistance-oriented demonstration yesterday, and I'm speaking on resistance today. Resistance is not good or bad. You know, it kind of in spiritual communities, it's kind of like a bad thing. So don't resist, it persists. Yes, but there's also times to resist. There's times to take a stand. There's times to actually stand where your values are, and to actually be present to what your values and what you stand for. That's one side of it. The other side of it is, as little children, we don't think our broccoli, we resist that. I don't want to. And that's the form of resistance. Think about Monday morning, you're waking up in bed, you're comfy, everything's going well, and all of a sudden the thought pops into your mind, oh, what I've got to do today, this week, is just, it's too much. And I'm probably the only one, but for me, it's like, where did that come from? Who's saying that? Why am I being terrorized by my own thoughts? I'm coming back from a trip with my dad. We'd be out for maybe a week in the desert having this wonderful time, and I cross the California border and I always start to feel heavy, like the trip is over and something, it's the heaviness of returning to my life. It's like, I'm just having a wonderful time. Nothing has changed. I'm driving the car. Where does this resistance come from? So I gotta look around. Is it in the car? Where is it? My thoughts? That's a clue. Maybe it's my thoughts. So my wife, 20 years ago, I was at an Enlightenment conference. And this is in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's 7,000 feet in the high desert. It's December. It snows. Okay. I've been there before. I know the snow. This is going to be fun. Great. So I'm standing in line to check in. Beautiful hotel. Old hotel. And I'm hearing grumbling. Oh, it's snowing outside here. It's terrible. And did you see your room? They're so old and small. Oh my goodness. So I'm hearing this resistance. Now I'm paid $500 to be at this conference. And I'm thinking, I want my money's worth. Okay, so I'm sitting here and I'm listening to this and listening to complaining, and all of a sudden something goes, Fuller? What? Fuller? I just got my $500 worth. What did I get? But here's your $500 worth, and you don't have to go to Santa Fe to get it. It's not about the snow. It never was about the snow. So what does that mean? Let's sort of take a look at that. I feel good about the snow. Other people do not feel good about the snow. So right there, if you look at it logically, it's not the snow. It's how I feel about the snow. Is it the administration is the problem, or is it's insulting my values? It's how I feel about what's happening, not what's happening. This is a huge piece. This is what the Masters have always known. I bring my own resistance, my own suffering to the table by how I habitually respond to my circumstances. Oh. So I go to the first session, and here's this wonderful fellow, Isaac Shapiro, and he's in a Hawaiian shirt. he came prepared. He had a Hawaiian shirt. It was pretty comical because it's snowing outside. He's in a Hawaiian shirt. You get it. So he says all suffering is the result of resisting the experience that you're having right now. All of our suffering revolves around how we resist what's happening right now. We don't want it. I'm not going to do it. I don't like it. Where does that come from? If not from inside, if not from a habit, if it's not from some kind of conditioning. And we know if it's conditioning and habit, it can be changed. Not easily, but it can be changed. I see a fan in this, you know, those big circular fans. Okay, and you go over it and it's time to turn it off. And you flick the switch to the off position and you look at the fan, it's still turning. We all see that. It's called momentum. Whenever we're trying to change, there's a momentum of activity built up in our system. So when we go to flick the switch to make our change, we have to wait for the momentum to slow down. And we have to trust that we've turned off the power and it will slow down. Now, some of us, we're going to go over there and we're going to go, it's not slowing down, let's flick the switch, which, as you know, just energizes it some more. So, when we're looking at resistance, how do we let it be and start turning around and taking a look at I'm causing my own resistance? And if so, how can I use it more wisely? Because it's an energy. It's all this energy, and our thoughts are energy. So how am I using this energy? Could I use it to advance a vision? Could I use it to advance something better? Oh, I had a ball yesterday. Really had a good, fun time. It was so nice. It was so nice to see the thousands of signs, really clever signs. They took that resistance and they turned it into humor. They turned it into solidarity. They turned it into cooperation. They turned it into expressing their values of kindness, of goodness, of honesty, all of which is lacking right now in spades. Honesty, where did that go? Why has it been normalized to lie? So, we came together in this protest. This is nonviolent resistance to what's happening right now. Now, there's a danger in doing that. And the danger is this being bite the hook of anger and outrage at what is happening. And that's the downside. When we bite the hook, when we bite that this is all real, that it's not just made up in my head, we can get confused. And we can become just like our opponents. Now, if Martin Luther King had started attacking the dogs or fighting with the police, he would have given away his power. His power was in the non-resistance. He wasn't resisting, he wasn't fighting. When we put down the sword, that's an incredible act of courage. When we don't fight, but we stand firm, and there's a difference there. When we don't fight, we put the sword down, and we take back our power. This is a conscious action. And at that point, we have the power. We're standing in our integrity, in our conviction. And I know that we are actually all wanting the same thing. except there's very different ways of approaching that. Some people have to marginalize other people to feel safe and secure. Other people feel very unsafe when they're marginalized. So, how do we shift this? How do we shift this all? And the first thing for me is always to stop what's going on. When I wake up in the morning and I'm feeling, oh, it's too much work and I'm resisting it already, and this is, oh, I don't like this feeling. The key is it's a feeling. I don't want the experience I'm having now. You come back to basics. What's happening in this moment? Am I in the future worried about something? Am I in the past not wanting to have it happen again? Where am I? Stop. What's happening? Who's thinking these thoughts? What's going on? The next question should be, what do I really, really want? Do I want peace? Do I want to express the values of goodness and love and kindness, honesty? Or do I want to become enraged and perhaps not as effective? So the idea of stopping and examining, turning the lens back on here rather than blaming out there. If it's snowing outside, I can't change that. But I might be able to change my relationship to the snow. That's something I can do. Emma Chodron, the Zen master, and she talks about biting the hook. When circumstances come and we get riled up, we bite the hook. We start fighting against what is this? What is this injustice? What is this happening in my life? What is this diagnosis that I received? My circumstances, I'm out of a job. What is all of this? Oh, poor me. And we bite the hook. If we can recognize that we fought or we've bitten on the hook, we can throw the hook. That's turning off the power and watching it slow down. So the key is to recognize the hook. And to recognize the hook, you've got to recognize the feelings in your body. And you know when you're feeling off, when you're becoming when something's not right. And those are the times. Now, the hook or dropping the hook is any kind of action. If you're feeling disempowered, you don't want this to happen, you don't like what's happening, you take one step forward. And it only needs to be one step. Because in that first step, you start the momentum. It's like the fan is just stuck up there, but if you give it just a little touch, it starts to move. And then it's easier from that point forward. I worked in this auto shop. We had to move cars around. And I learned very quickly that you don't start the car up because they're need to be worked on, the engines aren't working. So you have to move them by hand. And there's not, you don't call your buddy over there and move the car, you move it yourself, right? And very quickly I realized that if you get behind the car and you squat down a little bit, and you start putting your butt right up against the bump, the back trunk of the car, and start to lean in and push. Just lean in and push with your legs. Car starts moving. But that initial push, the initial getting the car going, is tough. And that should be a lesson for us, is that initial lean in until something starts to move. That's when you're building momentum. And when you build momentum, it's much easier to keep it going than to originally start. So when you're finding yourself resistant in any way, examine it, stop, and then lean into something that what you would like to create. What's your vision of what you want rather than what you don't want? Because it's so easy to say, I don't want this, but what do you want? And that should be the energy that drives us. I'm going to finish with this last story. True story about this woman on the subway in New York. She got on the subway, she had packages, and she got right by the prime seats by the entrance where they have the sideways seats, and she could put her groceries on either side, sat down, and she's going to have a wonderful ride. And just then Mr. MAGA with his red hat comes on and starts spewing some really vile remarks. The whole energy of the car shifted, and people started shouting. They were starting to fight his energy. And it was escalating. And the woman who was standing right next to her, she could feel the energy coming at her, and she was scared. And I know when you sincerely ask for help, something happens. And so she sincerely asked for some kind of guidance. Help me. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. That's a prayer. That's as powerful as any prayer you can say. Help me. I need help. And just then, boom, what came out of her mouth was, Mister, if you don't be quiet, I'm going to start to sing. And then she thought to herself, who said that? I don't know how to sing. I don't know what song to sing. What have I got myself into? And then the next thing out of her mouth was, row, row, row your boat. You can all tell me what happens next. Everybody started singing. And everyone came together, and the energy shifted. Solidarity was there. There was love. People were looking at each other. They were united over this one common thing, is that they wanted a better something that was happening in that car than what was they were being exposed to. Well, Mr. MAGA got off at the very next stop. He couldn't take it. He was completely drowned out. And it was a kind exchange, and it became viral, and that's how I heard it on the radio station. But how sweet that is. There's a couple points there. One was that she sincerely asked. And second, she had the courage to actually do it. Courage is a part of this. You know, if we want it to get beyond our resistance, it's going to take courage. But the rewards for solidarity, love, kindness, connection. And this is one of the protests. Is that we feed each other. So, is resistance good and bad? It's really how you hold. And so this is kind of like a prayer affirmation I'm going to read. This will conclude. Today I let go of resisting my resistance. I fully accept the life offered to me, including all circumstances that come and go, knowing that I am the only one judging them as positive or negative. I trust life as my partner and friend, vowing to do better and to have fun and spread joy. So it is.